This story is titled, My Parents Excluded Me from Their Wedding and Just Wanted Me to Be There as a Babysitter. I refused to go and insisted on showing everyone their true colors. Hey Reddit, I'm Tessa, 19 female. And honestly, I've always felt like the extra piece in my family. You know, the kind of person who's technically there but doesn't really matter? My parents, who I'll just call mom and dad, are obsessed with looking like the perfect family. Like they're the type who'd send out holiday cards with professionally staged photos and a little braggy letter about how Vanessa got promoted at work or Brendan's going to grad school. I used to think that was normal, but now I realize they're just obsessed with what people think of them. Anyway, I've got two older siblings, Vanessa, 26 female, and Brendan, 23 male. Vanessa is basically my mom's clone. She's stylish, chatty, and knows how to work a room. Mom calls her the pride of the family, like she's some kind of trophy. Brendan is the golden boy. He's athletic, smart, and dating Clara, 22 female, who might as well be my parents' second daughter the way they treat her. I'm the youngest, and unlike my siblings, I'm quieter, more independent. I guess I'm the odd one out, but I didn't think that made me disposable. So, the story starts when my parents announced they were finally getting married. They've been together for 27 years, and honestly, I figured they'd just stay partners forever. But no, they decided they needed a big, fancy wedding. Not because they're madly in love or whatever, but because they wanted to show off. The wedding was set for Aspen, at this ridiculously overpriced resort. Vanessa was named maid of honor, and Brendan was a groomsman. Mom was over the moon talking about how perfect everything would be. I remember sitting at the kitchen table when they were talking about it, waiting for someone to ask me what my role would be, but no one said a word. At first, I thought, okay, maybe they're just distracted with planning. They'll include me eventually. But as the weeks went by, it became clear. I wasn't part of their vision. The first red flag was when Mom asked me to babysit Vanessa's kids while they went dress shopping. I didn't think much of it at first. Vanessa's kids are toddlers, and they can't exactly sit quietly in a bridal shop. So, I stayed home while they all went out. Later that night, I saw Vanessa's Instagram story. It was a picture of her, Mom, and Clara, posing in front of a mirror in this gorgeous boutique, with the caption, 3 beauties picking out the perfect gown. 3 beauties? I guess I didn't qualify. When I asked Mom why I wasn't invited, she said, Tessa, you don't even like dresses. You'd just get bored. Like, okay, I don't love dresses, but I still would have liked to be included. The worst part was how casual they were about ignoring me. One night at dinner, they were talking about the playlist for the wedding. I tried to suggest a song, and Mom cut me off with, Tessa, this isn't really your thing. Let the adults handle it. Let the adults handle it? I'm 19. It wasn't just about being excluded from the planning. It was the little things, too. Like how they spent hours talking about Vanessa's kids' outfits, or how Mom asked Clara for advice on the flower arrangements. Even though I was sitting right there, it was like I was invisible unless they needed something from me. One night, Brendan and Clara came over for dinner. Mom went on and on about how perfect Clara was, and how she couldn't wait to officially call her family. She even joked, Clara, you're practically like a second daughter to me. I'm sitting right there eating my spaghetti, thinking, cool, guess I'm the third daughter nobody wanted. Then came the seating chart drama. I overheard Mom and Vanessa arguing about who should sit where. Vanessa said something like, well, Tessa can sit with the kids' table if we run out of room. Mom didn't even object. She just said, I'll think about it. At that point, I knew I wasn't part of the family in their eyes. I was just an extra body they didn't know what to do with. But the cherry on top was when Clara called me the babysitter in front of everyone. It was during a casual dinner at home. Vanessa was stressed about who'd watch her kids during the wedding. And Clara, in her sweet little voice, said, oh, Tessa can handle it. She's such a good babysitter. No one corrected her. Not even Mom or Dad. Then came the travel plans. And this is where it really hit me how much of an afterthought I was to them. One night, I was sitting in the living room when I overheard Mom on the phone, excitedly telling someone about the first-class tickets they'd booked for the whole family. And of course, Clara's flying with us. We couldn't leave her out, she said. I didn't even hear my name. At first, I thought, maybe they're keeping it a surprise? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that wasn't likely. They didn't do surprises for me. If I wasn't mentioned, it probably meant I wasn't considered. The day before the flight, Mom barged into my room with that usual you're slacking tone she loves. Tessa, why haven't you started packing? We leave early tomorrow morning. I blinked at her. Packing for what? She gave me this exasperated look, like I was the one being ridiculous. The wedding, obviously. I asked the big question that had been eating at me for weeks. Did you even buy me a ticket? Her face froze for a split second, and then she recovered with the fakest, most dismissive laugh I've ever heard. Oh, well, you don't need first class like everyone else. We'll get you a ticket tomorrow. Plenty of economy seats left. I just stared at her. Everyone else had first class tickets booked weeks ago, but for me, they'd grab something last minute. Are you serious? I asked, still in disbelief. She brushed me off with, Tessa, don't make this a thing. It's all about being there with the family, not where you sit on the plane. Oh, sure. Easy for her to say while relaxing in first class. Then Dad chimed in from the hallway, probably overhearing our conversation. Just pack something simple from your closet. You don't need anything fancy since you're not in the wedding party. Not in the wedding party? I was their daughter, and I didn't even get a minor role like handing out programs or lighting candles. Clara, who wasn't even married to Brendan, was getting a custom dress and a front row seat. Meanwhile, I couldn't even get a plane ticket like everyone else. I asked, what am I even supposed to do at the wedding? Sit in the corner and clap? Mom rolled her eyes like I was being unreasonable. Tessa, stop being dramatic. This is about the family, not you. You're going to be there to support everyone and, help out. Help out? I asked, already knowing where this was going. Well, she said, hesitating just a little, Vanessa could really use help with the kids during the ceremony. You know how they get restless. And there it was. The real reason they wanted me there. Not because I was family, but because I was useful. I wasn't a guest. I was free childcare. I laughed, but it wasn't because it was funny. So you didn't buy me a ticket? You don't care if I have anything to wear, and you want me to come so I can babysit? Mom gave me that, you're being unreasonable look she's perfected over the years. Tessa, you're great with the kids. Who else is going to watch them? Maybe their parents? I shot back. She sighed like I was being the difficult one. Look, we don't have time for this. You're coming. Pack your things. No, I'm not, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She blinked at me, clearly not expecting that. Don't be ridiculous. You're part of this family. Am I? I asked. Because it doesn't feel like it. That's when Dad chimed in again. Tessa, this isn't the time for one of your moods. You're coming to the wedding. End of discussion. Moods? I said, my voice rising. I'm not throwing a mood, Dad. I'm tired of being treated like I don't matter. You didn't even think about me enough to book a ticket. And now you're telling me I'm only going because no one else will babysit Vanessa's kids? Mom crossed her arms. Tessa, we've all worked really hard to make this day special. You're being selfish. Selfish. They were calling me selfish. Fine, I said, grabbing my phone. You don't need to worry about me. I'm not going. Mom opened her mouth like she was going to argue, but then she just sighed and walked out. Suit yourself, but don't come crying to us later when you regret it. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just being ignored. I wasn't even seen as part of the family. The next morning, the house was eerily quiet. Normally, I'd hear Mom yelling at Dad to hurry up, or Vanessa running around trying to find one of her kids' shoes. But not this time. I guess they all left super early, because by the time I woke up, the house was already empty. They didn't even knock on my door to say goodbye. No text from Mom. No, are you sure you won't come? From Dad? Not even a, we'll miss you. From Vanessa or Brendan. It was like I'd ceased to exist the moment I said I wasn't going. By the afternoon, I figured I'd distract myself. I was binge-watching some random show when my phone buzzed. It was a notification from Instagram. Mom had posted. Her post? A picture of everyone, all dressed in coordinated outfits, standing in front of the Aspen Resort. The caption read, the whole family together for this magical day. Family first, wedding weekend. I just stared at it, feeling this weird mix of anger and disbelief. The whole family? Pretty sure the whole family includes me, Mom. Where was I? Oh, right. Sitting in sweats, eating leftover pizza, and apparently erased from their narrative. Then the comments started rolling in. Where's Tessa? Is Tessa okay? I don't see her in the picture. Why isn't Tessa with you guys? I scrolled through, waiting to see how Mom would respond. And of course, she didn't disappoint. Mom replied to one comment. Unfortunately, Tessa wasn't feeling well and couldn't travel. She's with us in spirit. With them in spirit? Seriously? But wait, it gets better. Dad jumped in too, replying to another comment. Family first always, even when we're apart. Tessa needed to rest, but she's cheering us on from home. Cheering them on? The only thing I was cheering for was their Wi-Fi cutting out so they'd stop posting this garbage. I could feel my blood boiling. They didn't just leave me out. They turned me into a convenient lie. Instead of admitting they'd ignored me, they painted me as the sickly daughter who couldn't make it. All for the sake of their stupid image. I sat there for a few minutes, debating what to do. Part of me wanted to let it go. It's not like I was shocked by their behavior at this point. But another part of me? I wanted people to know the truth. I wasn't sick or resting. I was forgotten. So I grabbed my phone, snapped a selfie, and captioned it. Not sick, just forgotten. Guess I'm not part of the family first vision. I made sure to tag Mom, Dad, Vanessa, Brendan, and even Clara for good measure. The post went up, and within minutes, my phone started blowing up. First, there were the supportive comments. Wait, what? They didn't take you? OMG, this is so messed up, Tessa. I'm so sorry. You deserve better than this. But then came the drama. Vanessa commented first. Seriously, Tessa? You're going to air family stuff on social media? Grow up. I ignored her. If she had a problem with me calling out the truth, that was on her. Then came Brendan, the peacekeeper as always. Tessa, I thought you didn't want to come. Why are you doing this? Doing what? Telling people what actually happened? Yeah, how awful of me. Clara didn't comment, but I saw she'd liked Vanessa's response. Of course she did. But the real chaos started when extended family members and family friends chimed in. People who'd seen Mom's post were now seeing mine, and they were not happy. Aunt Liz, who's never been a fan of Mom's fake perfection, wrote, "So you left your daughter behind and then lied about it? Wow. Some family first." A family friend added, "Tessa, I'm so sorry. I can't believe they did this to you." That's when I got the call. Mom. I let it ring. Then Dad called. I ignored that too. Finally, Vanessa texted me. "Pick up. Mom is losing it." Good. Let her. When I finally checked my messages, there was a voice note from Mom. Her voice was sharp, the way it gets when she's trying to hold it together, but is clearly fuming. "Tessa, what do you think you're doing? Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is for us? We didn't leave you out. You chose not to come. And now you're making us look like bad parents? This is petty and childish. Take the post down." I didn't respond. Instead, I took a screenshot of her voice note, blurred out the audio, and posted it on my Instagram story with the caption, "Funny how telling the truth makes people uncomfortable. Guess I hit a nerve." That night, I got a message from my cousin Elise, 21 female. She was at the wedding and had seen the chaos unfolding online. She wrote, "Tessa, this is wild. I'm so sorry they did this to you. Do you want me to help?" I didn't know what she meant by help, so I asked. She replied, "Let's just say I could make things interesting." For the first time that day, I smiled. "Go for it," I replied. And just like that, the seeds of my revenge were planted. So, after my cousin Elise sent that message, I was curious but also a little nervous. She was always the chaotic one in the family. And if she said she could make things interesting, I knew it meant trouble. But honestly, trouble sounded pretty good at that moment. Elise didn't go into too many details, just that she had access to the slideshow for the reception. Now, this wasn't just some random PowerPoint presentation. This was one of those professionally made wedding slideshows that Mom had micromanaged for weeks. She'd gone through years of family photos, carefully picking ones that made us look like a Hallmark card. It was her pride and joy, and she couldn't stop talking about how it would bring everyone to tears. And the best part? Elise had the final say on what actually got played. She texted me the next morning. "I have an idea, but I need you to trust me." Honestly, at that point, I didn't care what she was planning. I just wanted someone to hold my family accountable, and if Elise was willing to take that on, I was all in. "Do it," I wrote back. The reception was held in one of those ridiculously fancy ballrooms with chandeliers that looked like they cost more than my college tuition. Everyone was dressed to the nines, and the mood was, according to Elise, peak smug. Mom was glowing, Dad was soaking up compliments, and Vanessa and Brendan were playing their roles as the picture-perfect siblings. Apparently, Clara was getting a lot of attention too. Elise sent me a selfie from the bathroom with the caption, "Clara's acting like the bride. Your mom is eating it up." When it was time for the slideshow, Elise texted me, "Here we go, hope you're watching." I wasn't there, obviously, but I could practically feel the tension through my phone. Elise described the setup perfectly. The lights dimmed, everyone got quiet, and the opening slide popped up. Family first, a celebration of love. The slideshow started innocently enough. There were pictures of Mom and Dad from when they were younger. Vacations, anniversaries, all the usual stuff. Then it transitioned to photos of Vanessa and Brendan growing up. First days of school, birthday parties, and random family trips. Not surprisingly, I was barely in any of these photos. Elise said there were maybe one or two of me as a baby, but after that, nothing. It was like I just disappeared from the family timeline after Vanessa and Brendan hit their teenage year. Then came the more recent photos. There were tons of shots of Vanessa's kids, Brendan and Clara at fancy dinners, and the whole family, minus me, at various events. Elise said it was painfully obvious that I'd been erased from their narrative, and she could see some of the guests whispering to each other. Finally, the slideshow reached the last slide, or at least what Mom thought was the last slide. It was supposed to say, "Forever grateful for family," with a big family photo from one of their trips to the Hamptons. But instead, Elise had replaced it with a blank screen that read, "Some family members couldn't make it, or were they forgotten?" According to Elise, the room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Vanessa was the first to react. She gasped audibly and muttered, "What the hell is this?" before storming out of the room. Brendan, who had been sitting next to Clara, looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. But the best reaction, Mom. The guests started murmuring. People were pulling out their phones, probably scrolling through Instagram to see what was going on. Mom, trying to save face, stood up and said, "Oh, that must have been a mistake. Let's give a big hand for the beautiful memories." Nobody clapped. Elise texted me right after the slide played. "Mission accomplished. Your mom is losing her mind." Apparently, a few family friends had already started asking questions. One of them, Aunt Janice, marched right up to Mom and asked, "What did that slide mean? Where's Tessa? Why wasn't she included?" Mom, trying to keep it together, went with the same lie she'd been using all weekend. "Oh, Tessa wasn't feeling well, so she stayed home. She didn't want to risk getting anyone sick." But here's the thing. By that point, most of the guests had already seen my Instagram post. Elise had made sure of it. She'd shown it to a few cousins before the slideshow, and it spread like wildfire. One of the cousins, bless her, actually pulled up my post and showed it to Aunt Janice. "Doesn't look sick to me," she said loudly enough for several people nearby to hear. That's when things really started to spiral. Guests began openly questioning Mom and Dad, asking why I wasn't there and why they lied about it. A few people even brought up the slideshow and said it was heartbreaking to see me excluded. Mom tried to play it off, but the damage was done. Meanwhile, Elise kept feeding me updates. "Your mom is cornered by Aunt Janice and Uncle Mike. It's brutal. Vanessa is crying in the bathroom. She's mad people are talking about you instead of her." Or Clara just asked Brendan if they should leave early. LOL, I was sitting at home, eating popcorn and living for every single detail. For once, the family who had spent years ignoring me was being forced to answer for it. By the end of the night, Mom was visibly shaken. She gave some half-hearted speech about how family is everything and how much she missed having everyone together, but nobody was buying it. When the reception finally ended, Elise sent me one last message. "Your mom just left in tears. Dad looked like he wanted to kill someone. Best wedding ever." I couldn't stop laughing. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a voice, even if it was through Elise's perfectly executed chaos. So, the morning after the wedding, I woke up to a barrage of notifications, texts, Instagram DMs, Facebook messages. My phone was blowing up. I couldn't even open one app without seeing someone mentioning the slideshow or the drama it had caused. The first message I read was from Elise. "Tessa, they're livid. Your mom is trying to act like it was all a glitch, but everyone knows it wasn't. You're a hot topic right now. Congrats." I laughed. Honestly, I wasn't surprised they'd try to spin it as a technical error. Mom was all about controlling the narrative, even when it was painfully obvious she'd been caught. But the damage was done. After checking her message, I scrolled through my notifications. My Instagram post had blown up even more overnight. Friends, cousins, and even a few family friends had commented or shared it, some tagging Mom and Dad directly. One of my cousins wrote, "Tessa, this is so messed up. I had no idea they left you out like that. You deserve better." Another cousin chimed in, "Family first? Yeah, right. More like family selective. The hashtag #, family first." Except Tessa was starting to gain traction, and honestly, I couldn't stop laughing every time I saw it. Then came the text from my family. Vanessa was the first to reach out. "Tessa, I cannot believe you'd stoop this low. Mom and Dad worked so hard on this wedding, and you had to ruin it with your drama? Grow up." I rolled my eyes so hard I think I saw my brain. Vanessa acting like a victim was nothing new, but the nerve of her to call me dramatic after years of treating me like a built-in babysitter? Yeah, no thanks. I left her on red. And then there was Mom. She called first, twice, but I ignored it. After that, she left a voicemail, which was exactly as passive-aggressive as you'd expect. "Tessa, it's your mother. I can't believe what you've done. We tried to make this wedding special for everyone, and you've turned it into a circus. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is for us? I thought you were more mature than this. Call me back. We need to talk." "No thanks, Mom." Throughout the day, I started hearing from other relatives. Most of them were on my side, which was a pleasant surprise. A few family friends messaged me too. One of Mom's longtime friends, Diane, actually sent me a screenshot of a group chat where people were ripping into my parents for excluding me. One person wrote, "I can't believe they treated their own daughter like this. Tessa's better off without them." Another added, "Makes you wonder what else they've swept under the rug over the years. This isn't normal." Diane captioned the screenshot, Just so you know, people see the truth. Stay strong, sweetheart. It felt good to know I wasn't crazy or overreacting. People were finally seeing what I'd been dealing with for years. By the afternoon, things had escalated. I found out through the family grapevine that Mom and Dad were being asked some very uncomfortable questions. Apparently, a few of their closest friends had confronted them about why I wasn't at the wedding. Mom stuck to her story about me being too sick to travel, but people weren't buying it. Elise later told me that Mom and Dad left Aspen early, cutting their honeymoon short. I guess the stress of everyone calling them out got to be too much. One of my younger cousins, Jake, said, "Tessa, I always thought you were so quiet because you didn't care about family stuff, but now I see they just never gave you a chance. I'm sorry." Hearing that meant a lot. For years, I thought maybe I was the problem, that I didn't try hard enough to fit in. But now I realized it wasn't me. It was them. By the evening, Mom finally cracked and sent me a text. "Tessa, this has gone too far. I know you're upset, but dragging this out on social media isn't helping anyone. Let's talk and figure out how to move forward." I didn't reply. Instead, I posted a follow-up on Instagram. The truth hurts, I guess. For years, I've been ignored, excluded, and treated like an afterthought. This wedding wasn't an isolated incident. It was the final straw. I deserve better, and I'm done pretending otherwise. To everyone who's reached out, thank you for your support. It means the world to me. The response was overwhelming. People I hadn't talked to in years messaged me to say they were proud of me for standing up for myself. Even some of Vanessa's friends commented saying, "Good for you, Tessa. You deserve better." By the time I went to bed, I felt a weird sense of peace. For the first time, I wasn't just quietly accepting their treatment. I was calling them out, and people were listening. Mom and Dad could try to spin it however they wanted, but the truth was out there now. And honestly, that felt better than any apology they could have given me. I didn't think things could get messier after the wedding fallout, but I underestimated Uncle Ben. Ben is my mom's older brother, and he's never been one to hold back his opinions. He's blunt to a fault and doesn't care about keeping the peace, which is probably why he and Mom don't get along much. He's also been one of the few family members who's always treated me like a real person, not just the quiet one. So, when Ben called me 2 days after the wedding, I wasn't surprised. "Tessa, I just saw your Instagram post," he said, his voice sharp. "And I just got off the phone with your mom. What the hell is going on over there?" I gave him the rundown. Ben stayed quiet the whole time, letting me get it all out. When I finished, there was a long pause before he said, "That's it. I'm coming over." "Uncle Ben, you don't have to—" "I'm coming over," he repeated, his tone leaving no room for argument. They need to hear this from me. A few hours later, Ben showed up at the house. He didn't knock or anything, just walked right in like he owned the place. I was sitting in the living room, and he marched in, looked at me and said, "Pack a bag." "What?" I asked, confused. "You're not staying here another second," he said. "Pack what you need. I'll deal with your parents." Before I could respond, Mom and Dad came into the room. Mom looked surprised to see Ben, but Dad just looked annoyed. "Ben," Mom said, her voice strained, "what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" Ben snapped. "What the hell are you doing? Leaving your daughter behind and then lying about it? Have you completely lost your minds?" Mom's face turned red. "Ben, this isn't your business." "Oh, it's my business," he cut her off. "When my niece is being treated like an afterthought by her own parents, it becomes my business." Dad stepped in, his tone defensive. "Look, Ben, you don't know the full story. Tessa didn't want to come." "Don't even try that," Ben said, his voice rising. "She didn't want to come because you made her feel like she wasn't wanted. You didn't include her in the planning. You didn't even book her a damn ticket. And now you're blaming her? Are you kidding me?" Mom tried to cut in again, but Ben wasn't having it. "Do you know how embarrassing it is to see my sister, my own family, get called out for neglecting her child? You've spent years pretending to be the perfect family, and now everyone knows it's all a lie." At this point, Mom started crying. Not subtle tears, but full-on sobbing. She sank onto the couch, covering her face with her hands. "We didn't mean for this to happen," she said between sobs. "We just wanted the wedding to be perfect." Ben snorted. "Perfect for who? Certainly not for Tessa. You've been so focused on your precious image that you didn't even realize you were pushing her out." Dad, clearly uncomfortable, muttered, "This isn't helping, Ben." "No, Gerald," Ben said, his tone ice cold. "What isn't helping is you pretending this is all fine. You've screwed up, and instead of owning it, you're doubling down. That's pathetic." While they argued, I went upstairs to pack a bag like Ben had told me to. I didn't know if I was really leaving, but the idea of getting out of that house, even for a little while, was appealing. As I stuffed clothes into a duffel bag, I could hear the shouting downstairs. Mom's voice was high-pitched and shaky. Dad was trying and failing to sound calm, and Ben was cutting through their excuses like a knife. By the time I came back down, the room was dead silent. Mom was still crying, and Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years. Ben, on the other hand, looked completely unfazed. "Ready?" he asked me, nodding toward the door. I hesitated. "Are you sure about this?" He put a hand on my shoulder. "Tessa, you don't have to stay in a place where you're not valued. Let's go." As we walked to his car, Mom ran after us. "Tessa, wait!" she called, her voice desperate. "Please don't do this. We'll fix it. We'll make it right. Just take down your posts and stories and we'll talk through this." I turned to her, trying to keep my voice steady. "You're only sorry because people found out. If no one had called you out, you wouldn't care." "That's not true," she insisted, tears streaming down her face. "We love you, Tessa. We've been under a lot of pressure." I shook my head. "That's not an excuse." She reached for my arm, but Ben stepped between us. "Back off, Marcia," he said firmly. "You've done enough." The ride to Ben's house was quiet at first. I think he could tell I needed time to process everything. Finally, he said, "You know, Tessa, you don't have to go back there if you don't want to." "I don't know," I admitted. "It's not like I have a plan or anything." He nodded. "That's okay. You've got time to figure it out. And whatever you decide, I'm here for you." Hearing that meant more than I could put into words. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, I felt like someone was truly in my corner. Over the next few days, I started to feel like myself again. Ben and Anna didn't push me to talk about what happened, but they made it clear I wasn't alone. By the end of the week, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going back to that house. Not unless something drastically changed. Staying at Uncle Ben and Aunt Anna's house was like finally coming up for air after years of treading water. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't constantly on edge or waiting for someone to guilt-trip me. They didn't treat me like a burden or an afterthought. They just let me exist without all the drama. Meanwhile, back at my parents' house, things were falling apart. Elise kept me updated on all the fallout from the wedding. And honestly, it sounded like chaos. Apparently, Mom tried to hold a family meeting to address the situation and get everyone back on the same page. Elise told me Vanessa was furious because the whole wedding was overshadowed by the slideshow drama. Brendan was uncomfortable, as usual, and kept trying to smooth things over, but even Clara was over it. "She's mad that people are saying you should have been there," Elise texted me. Like she thinks they're taking attention away from her moment. Of course, Vanessa made it all about her. Classic. Mom and Dad didn't waste any time trying to reel me back in. They left a series of voicemails, each one sounding more desperate than the last. "Tessa, we just want to talk. Please call us back. We need to fix this as a family. You're being unfair. This isn't like you, Tessa. Please, let's sit down and work this out." I ignored them all. Then Mom started texting. "We love you, Tessa. We just didn't realize how left out you felt. Can we talk?" Followed by, "We're planning something special for you. A late celebration, just for you." A celebration? Really? They couldn't even include me in their actual wedding but thought a consolation prize would fix things? But the best part? They started telling people they were planning to give me a car for my birthday as a way to make amends. I only found out because Elise overheard them on the phone with Aunt Janice. A car wasn't going to magically erase everything they'd done. And the fact that they thought it would? It just proved how out of touch they were. A few weeks later, with his precious help, I moved out of Uncle Ben's house into my own place. It was the best feeling ever. For the first time, I had a space that was mine. Of course, my parents weren't thrilled. Mom called me the day I moved in, begging me to come back home. "Tessa, you don't have to do this," she said. "We're your family. You belong here." "Do I?" I asked. "Because it hasn't felt like it for a long time." She didn't have an answer for that. So here I am now, in my cozy little apartment, figuring out life on my own terms. I'm still working at the bookstore and saving up for school. I've started therapy, which Uncle Ben insisted on paying for, and it's been helping me unpack a lot of the baggage from my childhood. As for my parents, we're not exactly on speaking terms. Mom still tries to text me occasionally, but I keep it short. Dad hasn't reached out much, which isn't surprising. I think he's embarrassed, and honestly, he should be. It's crazy how much has changed in just a few months. For so long, I felt trapped, like I'd never escape their shadow. But now, I finally feel free. And the best part? They can't spin this to make themselves look good. The truth is out there, and everyone knows what really happened. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me through this whole mess. I'm not sure what the future holds, but for the first time, I'm actually excited to find out.